Good day, good day, good day. Welcome to Strategy Sessions Live. Wherever you are in the world, feel free. Let us know. Let us know that you can hear. Because, I'm always looking to see that everything is on fire. So I see that it should be going over here. I'll check in a moment. But welcome to this is that time of the day when we bring experts in the AI space to just demystify, to unpack and help all of us figure out this revolution that's taking place and how you can best implement it in your we do a lot content creation wise, but then also the business side of things, operations, and just helping people to work through, helping your teams to work through how that makes sense, because there's so much, it almost feels like every day there's some sort of tool, or there's someone's releasing something, there's some sort of news. You can't get away from it. And that's why today I've got Cynthia Respert with us here on LinkedIn Live. Cynthia, welcome, welcome.
Hey, hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy that you are here, because I know that just even like the first time I met you, I was like, you know what? This woman right here she does not play systems. Like, that's the language that you speak. And then being able to, and I think it was maybe back in February, when even watching you just talk about AI and all the different tools and how to bring that together. So we'll get into that in a moment, but I want you to share with our community a little bit about yourself, about your background, and how you got here. I always like to start with the origin stories, because that helps
Oh, that's
people to understand. Like, no, she didn't just come out of nowhere talking this talk. She got
right.
25 years plus in the
Yes,
corporate environment.
yes, yes, absolutely. Again, thank you for having me. That is my background. My background is materials logistics management and operations. And I learned in a space where it was very unforgiving, like things had to work or lives were at stake. We'd have quality issues or whatever the case may be. And I was in the automotive environment. And in that space, I always looked for efficiency. So it's all process driven. I work with nonprofits in the corporate environment and in the entrepreneurial space. And I've always been on the hunt for efficiencies. And when AI was introduced, or it emerged for open access for everyone, this was just an opportunity to supercharge those efforts to help team members, entrepreneurs, founders, corporations, and the like, and small businesses as well, just be more efficient and get to the bottom line.
Because the bottom line, that is where, people, you're in business to make money. Yes, there's a social
Yes,
good aspect, there's
absolutely.
mission driven organizations, but having a business, operating it, is so that you are not only for the economic development impact, but talent and resources, and making the most of it. So even in preparing for this conversation, and as I mentioned earlier, it's just like even the workflows and some of the ways that people can begin to, because that seems to be the challenge, is there's this new technology that's out there. We hear the horror stories, and they're very valid, of people cloning voices. There are the creative rights and who owns this and that. But in focusing on the business side of things, can you help to level set us with, as a business who is thinking about, like, where do I start? What would be your recommendation?
Very good point. Because I am habitual saver as well. What does that mean? Oh, this looks amazing. Let me save it. Let me save it. Let me look at it. But how do I practically use that in my life and in my business? So my
Right.
mission is to demystify AI, to integrate AI into how we live, how we work, and how we play. Right? It can be very overwhelming to have. There's hundreds and hundreds of tools released every single week. There's open access, so people can build on top of this technology, and in turn the technology is learning, right? But the biggest thing is, how does this practically apply to you? So to become an AI pro, I would say, I have an acronym, or I don't know if it's called an acronym, but I have this abbreviation for almost everything, because I want people to remember in bite-sized pieces and simplify this process. But an AI pro would be, you pick a pain point. What is a pain point that you have? Then you rewire that pain point. You go through it and you look and see, okay, what's efficient, what is not, and then you
Hmm.
optimize it with AI. So I would get to the practical point. Oftentimes, I did a post the other day, the cure to overwhelm is execution, that you have to get in there and try. You have to get in there and run some laps, girl. So
Oh,
I have
hold on. We need to. I always have these moments where I say, "Wait, we're not just gonna skip over that part. Say that. Say that again."
ooh, which one? You
The
got to start early.
you have to get out there, and you've gotta
You
try it.
have to
Like
get
you
out
have
there
to
and try it.
execute.
Often
Yep.
the cure for overwhelm is execution.
Yeah.
And I created this thing, it's called AI Laps. And it doesn't mean look at this post and save it. It's an acronym. I gotta figure out what word that is, Liberty. But basically every letter stands for something, and it's learn, apply, and produce something saucy. Learn,
Mm.
apply, and produce something saucy. And when you get your laps in, just like exercise, and you get your reps in, you become stronger. So the cure to overwhelm is to get out there, learn something, apply it, and produce something. And I say saucy because I believe that we are still the sauce. We will always be the sauce. Artificial technology, artificial intelligence can't take the place of a human being in all of the sauce that we bring to the marketplace.
Right, very true, very much so. And even with that, and just even like thinking about, the idea of even workforce and inside organizations, the reskilling that needs to happen, and just preparing teams to integrate this into their business operations. For someone like yourself, what does that look like? In like, where does an organization begin? So they've got to the point of like, okay, we need to execute, and
Yep.
then what happens next? What does that training look like?
Right. To your point, before I go there, it's
Hmm.
important because we talk about the jobs that will be lost, but
Yep.
jobs will also be created, right? It's We don't miss the milkman. I wasn't back out back then, but we don't miss the milkman delivering, for those that were delivering milk to the door, right? We go to the store now. So
Right.
it's just a new way of thinking and a mindset shift that needs to occur. And just recently in the news, Slack, after mass layoffs, is rehiring people and employees to effort to kind of propel their generative AI efforts, right? So that is
Mm.
just another testament to say humans will always be required. Like the machine needs to be fed data. It needs to be built. It needs to be organized. It needs to be trained. And humans do that. So it's to move society forward. But to your point, in terms of transforming a work environment, when a company is ready to execute, I think there are a few things that need to occur. Obviously, you need to become a pro. You find those pain points, you rewire it, and you optimize it. But there's something big on this mindset, because to this point, people are afraid, and rightfully so, because it's so new. This is going to take my job. Why should I use this to replace myself? Right. So that's one thing. It's like a culture that needs to be cultivated. This is not for me. There's an awareness out there, but people feel like it's still not, you know, of impacting me in my life. Where
Right.
this is transcend every niche, every industry, whatever you do, it's going to transcend everything. It's going to be as common as email. So the key is to change that mindset and culture first.
Yeah, I like that because you had said shared that before of just like looking at how the even the starting off with the okay, so we're gonna start executing, and then I shared with you like one of our principles at Chosen Media is curiosity. So
Yeah,
we're
I love that.
constantly like, what's next? What's happening now? How do these pieces work together? And taking some of the pressure off of like having to get it right
Yeah.
to okay, what are we going to learn even with this challenge? So I'm doing this AI. Can I, teach, show people how to use content creation with AI and grow Instagram to 100,000? Not
Yeah.
quite there yet. So taking the
We're
pressure
getting there.
off.
There.
Yes, yes, incrementally, but it's the muscle memory that's happening of using all these tools, the research that has to go in to then therein go in and show and to teach. So having, and I'm saying all of this to reinforce what you just said, like the mindset things, and they're things that you'll learn when you actually get into that point of execution. So what I heard from you is the okay, so now mindset, whether that be consultants potentially bringing some consultants in, or like a specialized team maybe,
Mhm.
bringing creating an internal innovation team that
Ab
might look at that and start bringing, and maybe it's even starting with just one team, you know.
Absolutely. And it will catch on like wildfire because this is how I see. Here goes another one of my frameworks here, but this it's a A5 type of continuum. There's access. Now that we have this open access for everyone, this technology has emerged. Now there's awareness, and people are in different phases of this awareness. There was a article that The Verge did. They interviewed 2,000 people, and over half of them hadn't even heard of Chat GPT. They didn't know what it
Mm,
was. They didn't know that there was a researcher, an intern, a meal planner, a VA, an investor, an advisory board right in their pocket. They didn't even know about that. So we're still early in this thing. So that's the awareness piece. But then you get to the adoption piece. And this is where you start to integrate, that you go touch some of this technology and you integrate it into how you live, work, and play. After that becomes the acceleration piece. This is where the fun starts, right? You're like, wait a minute, I don't have to do this anymore.
right,
I can filter my emails this way, or I can give these mundane or routine tasks here, or I can get advice and wisdom or research, summarize a book, an article, or whatever in seconds. I can do that now. And then the last phase of that is addiction. So then you get addicted. It's kind of like you clean up the house
right,
and these socks have been sitting here for 3 weeks, but now that everything else is in order, that is out of place. We don't need to do this anymore, right? So it's like adopting that mindset and that AI first workflow. Like, how do I do this in a smart way? How can I do this more efficiently? And those inefficient things will start to stick out like a sore thumb. So, to your point, for employers and corporations, developing the team and the culture to embrace AI will then propel everything forward because then they're not afraid of the technology. So it can start in a personal sense in terms of how do I integrate this into my life? And then you have a hungry team coming in. How do I make this job more efficient? How do I do this? And
right.
then earn the company benefits.
And I love that part too of just the because we are, our primary platform here being like LinkedIn. So there are
Yeah,
people who
yeah,
are looking at it's coming, not even coming, it's here. So if your organization has not started to really integrate that, here's the opportunity. And Cynthia's really giving you the cheat code on how to prepare yourself. So it could be beginning with planning. I'm going to plan a trip and let's pull out ChatGPT, or maybe like let's use some of these other apps and tools that are out there, and you start seeing where, and I like what you said that too, Cynthia, of just the mundane, potentially mundane tasks that you have to do, your scheduling, your that's not mundane, that's extremely important, but it's
sure,
also tedious.
sure.
So starting with maybe making a list of what are those things going through your
What are those
day,
pain
and
points?
yeah,
Yeah, what are those pain points? I used the app recently, and I don't have any affiliate links. We're gonna change that. No, I'm just kidding. But I share freely. But there is an app that I put in my schedule is coordinated with my calendar. And
Okay.
you know how I can always say, I don't have time to walk. Oh my gosh, I got to get to the gym, but I just don't have time. So you put in your top three, five, whatever things that you want to accomplish, three habits or three tasks or whatever the case may be. And it will place them on your schedule of, no, you got some time here, you got some time
Nice.
here, and you got some time here. So it'll schedule it for you. And then say if you get a meeting that's scheduled on top of it, it'll just move it to another place, but it will still allow you to accomplish your goal. So that's just kind of like one little small practical way.
Right.
But there are obviously workflows internally. I would look for the things that cost the most, that take the most time, because you have valuable, intelligent, authentically intelligent, right? Not
Right.
artificially intelligent,
Truly.
authentically intelligent human beings on your team that you hired for a reason. So this frees them up to really use what you hired them for.
Right.
It's not to do routine tasks. It may be that, but their higher level and their highest best self to contribute to the company is to use their brain, to co-create with this machine, to collaborate, because now they have an assistant that they didn't have before. You don't even have to give everybody an EA anymore, right? You can use Chat GPT with some boundaries, right?
Right.
Fun fact, Liberty, the government, US government just banned chatbots except for Chat GPT. And they believe, the article was saying they believe it's because of the parameters or security thing.
Safety. Right.
Yeah, don't put these. So there's definitely another side to this. I'm not naive to think, just throw everything to the wind. So
Right.
tool in the wrong hands and bad actors, can have consequences. So it should be regulated in some form. But yeah.
There it is, and just saying a quick hello. Hey, Alyssa, thank you for joining in and jumping in. And for those of you who might be on the replays, you can type that down there. Let us know that you're watching the replay. But this is a strategy sessions, and this is where I come in just for a quick 20-30 minutes and bring in experts in their respective fields so that we are bringing this information so how you can implement it in your business and or in your processes as you go throughout the day. And this AI effect is taking everywhere. I see Mickey. Hey, Mickey, we had Mickey on a little while ago. And so Mickey we were talking, breaking it down in the advertising space. And just even coming back to what you were sharing, Cynthia, of like, okay, so we touched on first of all, just getting out there and execution.
Yeah.
Then we went on to the mindset shift that has to take place of being open and trying and testing things. And then for bringing it down to the individual level of whether you are a manager, team manager, or you are on a team, taking the initiative to just having it integrate that into your own personal life and looking at tasks that may be repetitive
Mhm.
or yeah.
I was going to say, and to your point, because there are some corporate boundaries, right? You just can't introduce any software to a
Right.
whole organization. Say you're going to use this now, because to that point, 3 months from now, this is an open access environment, and people are building on this technology. 3 months from now, there may be some tools that are not in existence anymore. So
Right.
you want to do your research. There are bad actors out there, and then you don't want to build a workflow around something that won't be here 3 months from now. You don't
Right.
have a crystal ball, but you have to do some due diligence instead of just, and you don't put your social security number in tools, and we know some common sense things. But to that point, it's a cycle.
There it is. And before, Alice, I see your question, so we'll get to that in one moment because I know that I want to know, some of the tools and the systems that you're using as well. But so once we get past the okay, testing it out and putting that out there, is a great segue to policy and starting to come up with what that looks like internally. I used to work at the Department of Economic Development, and so when this is just at the time of like social media and bringing that into a government space, like yes, there was a lot of time of okay, showing, having to do all of the research and putting that work in to say this, here are the recommendations, because it has to go through some layers of a chain of command. So I think there's something also to be said, to your point of when you are trying to get your team or even those in directors or leadership position, is to like do your homework and
Absolutely.
have that list, come prepared,
Mhm,
because there's so much noise that
mhm,
you want to make sure that you're showing, okay, so when we implement this workflow, and anytime that you can show cost savings.
that's what I was gonna say. Metrics are key. Metrics are king.
Right.
Right. Because it can sound like an amazing idea, but what is the ROI on this, right? I was talking to a colleague today, and he had a usability study, and he said if we make this one change, we could save you almost $250,000. And it wasn't until he said that they really understood it, but they had to search for a vacation form in their portal. And it was never sold in searches or anything like that. They had to search around. So basically, they were wasting time to find a way to get time off, right? So then they had to call the IT department. So he stacked up all these costs. And at the end of the day, all they had to do was, rearrange the user experience to save time and money. So that's like a quick example. But anytime you can wrap metrics around what you are doing, that is a more pointed point. And again, to be a pro, identify the pain point, rewire it, and then optimize. So you want to attack something that is causing bottlenecks, that is costing money, that is wasting resources. And when you flex this kind of AI muscle and you get this muscle memory, you'll begin to look for things that are inefficient. That's the sauce right there. You begin to look like, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way for this. So, yeah.
I love that, because that we could have really just ended right there, of go have those user conversations,
Yeah.
like the decision makers. And again, just because of my background and the spaces that I've been in, look for those stakeholders and find out what's important to them. So what's
Yes,
important to the finance department is different than what's important to the marketing department. That's
that's right.
different than, so there are all these departments, and making sure, like, this conversation is about transforming your operation. So making sure that, and take them out to lunch, a cup of tea, a cup of
Come on,
coffee.
practical advice. Yes.
Very practical. Have that
Yes.
conversation, and as Cynthia said, those pain points, those list those down. And now, how can we implement those workflows to
Yes.
save time? And Cynthia, you're doing a challenge actually right now, talking about the say. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because it's really important. Saving time sounds like, oh, it's just like, depending
Right.
on who you are, I should say. That's like, okay, so you just save time, but the value of that and what that means in productivity, the importance of
Absolutely.
that. So if you can just touch on that for a moment, so that, again, because we have so many different people coming in and watching this, and it's always like, well, what's in it for me? Or how does this really impact me? And this is why this is the AI effect. We're trying to
Yes.
break it down so people can see how this technology is really impacting how you live, work, and play.
Yes. So time is a limited resource, right? So we talk
Mm,
about time management, but really energy management is where the sauce is, right? So when you get your time back, you can reinvest it in things that give you energy, because you can increase your energy, but you can't increase your time. So I have this challenge where I set out to reclaim 100,000 hours. And the goal is for people to submit problems or pain points they have, and we transform that using AI technology, so then they can get that time back to then reinvest in something else that gives them energy, and then the cycle continues. We kind of underestimate time. One of the monuments, I call it, that we think about when we think about AI is, if it takes me longer, then it's worth more. Like, I
mm,
paid more because this took me, I spent 5 hours on, doing this. But if you can do it in 5 minutes now, the value didn't diminish. You can just produce more to bring in more revenue, right? So I think that's an important thing. But that's the challenge on the quest to reclaim 100,000 hours, asking people to submit it and say, hey, how long is this taking you? So then we multiply that by the week, then the month, then the year. Come on now. Where
that's
would
it.
you reinvest if you had 10 more hours in your week,
Right.
even in your month? I mean, that's low for a month, but any time back, where would you reinvest that and, give yourself some more energy? Reinvest that time, which is finite, into energy, which you can continue to increase and produce and maximize life. AI helps us to live. Don't get
Right.
to a soapbox now. I mean, assistant. It's not here to make us lazy. That's why I
Right.
believe co-creation, collaboration process. But we have an assistant in our just it's supercharged. We are at an inflection point in history where the tube is out of the toothpaste and we cannot turn back. Like
Right.
I can't unsee doing this in five, doing this in 5 minutes. That's something that used to take me 3 hours. We can't unsee that. So how do we capitalize on
And to as you said too, it's like the multiplication. How many times you say, if we just had more time, if there was two of me, well, now there really is. And I know we've mentioned ChatGPT so much, but there's Jasper AI, there's Copy AI, there are all these other tools, platform Mid-Journey, Adobe is now released, Firefly. We know Adobe is, with their entire suite. There's just so much more happening in that space. And there's customization that
Yes,
you can actually have a team come in and consult. And then we're breaking down, well, this is what we need to build to help you to be able to
yes,
streamline your process for those cost savings. So these are just some of the ways that it will transform how your business operates.
correct.
And speaking of business operations, Alyssa has a question for you, Cynthia. She says, what is the system, Cynthia, that you can use for your schedule?
He says, don't put that carrot out there unless you're gonna tell me the sauce. No.
Right.
So reclaim.ai is one, and then use motion AI. So use motion AI is I think that one's .com. But that also you can put your project task in there. Like you can do all the tasks for a project and things will move around. It'll place them on your schedule. It'll move around and still allow you to finish your project on time. Say a meeting gets booked, it'll just move that task to another time, etc. So it's like your assistant, your VA. Those are two.
And
And
it's
to that point, Liberty, super
yeah,
quick, you mentioned something that made me think. Mid-Journey is out there, and of that survey I told you about, 70% of people had no idea that we can now write some words and images appear, which
right.
is amazing, right? But this is an open market now. And I don't know the name of this one. I bookmarked somewhere. I'm a bookmarker for sure. But there are free ones that do almost, some of them are not as advanced, but there are some ones that have emerged recently that they're making it free and it's a Mid-Journey competitor. So all
Mm,
that to say, to the true go-getters out there, to the true innovators, you can build something. If you have
right.
a see a gap in the market, you can build something on this technology like other people are doing.
The opportunity for those. And I like to share this part too, is while if you do not have a computer science background or machine learning, like those are the people who have been in this for a very long time.
Right.
Everyone else is figuring it out. So if there's ever a time that you are like that intrepidation of maybe getting started or figuring out how it works, like the playing field right now is extremely level. It might not be so much, a year from now. So we're having these conversations, these strategy sessions to help you think through and process how you can navigate that for yourself and for your business and or your enterprise. And I do want to come back. I saw that Mickey Mickey had shared too. He loved that idea,
My time.
reclaiming my
That's
time
right.
with
That's
with
right.
AI.
Give me an idea. Give me an idea, Mickey. I might regret it, but give me a problem to work on, and I'll go to work on it for you, for sure, for sure.
So, Cynthia, we're coming down to that time because we are mindful of your time and everyone else who is watching us on strategy sessions. What's next? Where can people find you? I always like to give the last few minutes for our guests.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am, again, my goal is to demystify AI for people. So we're still early in this game, just like Liberty mentioned. People are out there and still haven't even heard of these things. So if you're even listening to this conversation, I want to encourage you, stay locked in, stay connected, and learn, apply, and produce something saucy. Run those AI labs. We have some amazing things. I'm part of some teams that are working on some amazing AI things. You can go to promptcamp.ai. We have an online virtual session where we teach practical uses for AI, but we start with giving you a creative process, giving you some aha moments and early wins. So then you can then open up and learn about how you can apply AI technology to your life, into your business. We'll be at Black Tech Week. I'm part of a fun project called Rap versus AI, where we are having a human rappers against an AI machine. So that is going to be epic. That's July 18th through the 20th in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I just want to encourage people to dream. Um, we're in a no code society now, right? We can build things without having, like Liberty said, having to know the machine learning and computer scientist things. But I want to encourage you to code. And what that means to me is I want to encourage you to create, to optimize, to dream, and to educate. Because when you can educate someone, that means you've done it yourself. So that's me. Follow me at Cynthia Respert on Instagram, Cynthia Respert on LinkedIn as well.
That code, like you just, I was like, she just said not code. Oh yes, here we go.
Create,
Code.
optimize, dream, and educate. That's my mission. So
That is phenomenal. And so thank you everyone, Mickey, Alyssa, anyone else who, I know you're sneaking it because you're like, this conversation is so good, but I'm still at work. So we appreciate you.
I'm the captain.
Right? We appreciate you for tuning in and joining us this week. And we'll be bringing back another expert, trying to make this. I've been challenged to do this either weekly or
Good.
find that cadence so that we can keep getting this information out and sharing this with the world. Cynthia, thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you. I'll make
you. This
sure
was
we'll
fun.
put.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And oh, look at that. That is it. Thank you, Alyssa, queen of AI, branded Cynthia, branded, branded, branded.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
So, thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's strategy sessions, how to transform business operations and beyond. And stay tuned. So, I will be putting out a schedule right now. We're getting ready for the holidays. So, like putting out a schedule where you'll be able to see who's coming up next. And as we continue to unpack, demystify, and help leading you into this AI era, I am Liberty White, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.